Happy holidays and welcome to the Village of Addison Year in Review 2021. I'm Don Weiss. We are very glad that you have made us part of your holiday celebration by tuning us in. This is Addison Community Television's 34th Year in Review program, and the gentleman who is joining me once again for our look back at the Village of Addison from the past year is the mayor of our community, Rich Veenstra. Happy holidays, Mayor. Welcome once again to the program.
Happy holidays, Dan.
Thank you very much. Very glad to be here and to look back on our community and everything that we've done during 2021. And as usual, it's been a very busy year. We're going to begin by talking about something which actually happened late in the year, and it was Addison being recognized by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and winning the Culture of Health Prize. Tell us a little bit about that and what that means to the community of Addison.
Well, actually, this has been an ongoing process since November of 2019. When the health department approached the Addison, and they were aware of all the things that we had been doing in terms of wellness and health and dealing with issues of that nature, and they suggested that we submit for this national recognition. And Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is the largest healthcare foundation and philanthropy organization in the country, and they have this award that they annually present to usually about 5 communities in the entire country. Mm-hmm. So we worked intergovernmentally with multiple agencies in our community and submitted our application, and over the course of the year there were a lot of meetings and a lot of work in putting paperwork together and explaining what we do as a community. And we were notified in late September, I believe it was, that we were one of the finalists and ultimately one of the 5 recipients.
Wonderful. Where do you see this then going forward for the community? How does a recognition from such a prestigious national organization, philanthropic organization as Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, where does that help Addison move forward in the future then? How does this help us maybe promote what we do in the community?
Well, I think it validates what we have been doing more than anything else, and it reinvigorates us. You know, one of the things that we've always talked about is how great our intergovernmental relations are and how well we work with the other agencies in our community. And that was a major factor in the award. And they looked at that and said, this is a model that other communities should be and could be using in terms of getting the message and being active in the community by that collegiality and synergy that develops from that intergovernmental relation.
Well, speaking of health of the community, you have been concerned, as many others in the past couple of years, about the response in our community to the COVID-19 pandemic. That response continued in 2021 through a number of outreach methods into the community. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that happened this past year, how you've continued on being concerned about that and responding to the pandemic here in Addison?
Well, you know, the pandemic, as we speak, still has not been resolved, and we see the peaks and ebbs and flows in the occurrences. Addison had a very high rate of infection early on, and we looked at the issues, we looked at the problems, and again, intergovernmentally with the school districts, we worked to provide information. We had COVID kits that were assembled not only by the village, but we brought in the Knights of Columbus, our seniors, a lot of different groups to put the kits together that provided resources for those in the community that were in need. We distributed them in the park areas and senior settings throughout the community, and actually distributed 7,000 kits over the period of time. And then we worked with the school district to provide a clinic for vaccinations, and we did over 1,200 seniors in one weekend. Wow. So, you know, being proactive, being involved, and being aware of what's going on and working with the community, I think was really the key element that we brought together and made it very effective.
Well, that was the big issue in 2021, was the availability of the vaccines. Exactly. It started out to be something that was not readily available, to the point where it had been it's available at so many different locations now as we enter the new year. So you and the staff stepped it up along. You worked very closely with DuPage High School District 88,
Definitely.
The superintendent's office in that, right?
Dr. Barbonetti and her team were tremendous in getting the vaccine through Julasco, and we worked with doing the call-ins. We felt very strongly that a lot of the seniors had problems with the internet and technology, and that was the main way a lot of the agencies were providing access to the vaccine. So we changed our administrative office area into a call center and had over 20 volunteers from our village staff come in and take calls and schedule appointments for the vaccine. So it really was neat to see everybody rallying and doing things on their own. It wasn't something that they were paid for. And it really, I think, talked about the Addison advantage and who we are as a community and coming together and working together.
All right, Mayor, then let's move along to talk about some issues coming up soon in our Community Development Department. A lot of projects happening there, many things residents see on a day-to-day basis, things that are coming to a community near you, which is Addison, of course, and we'll begin with projects that are under construction, and the first is the Lucia Rosa restaurant at 1570 West Lake Street. Tell us what's going on over there.
Well, that used to be the La Scarpetta restaurant, and a change of ownership occurred, and for a while it was closed. And in typical Addison fashion, there was multiple names suggested for the new restaurant. Initially, they were going to call it Forno Rosa. They have another restaurant in Chicago by that name. Ultimately, it became the Lucia Rosa, and it basically is a brick oven pizzeria with a wide variety of cuisine that is very unique, and the feedback that I've heard, I haven't had a chance to get there yet, but excellent food and well received.
Okay, very good. Now, A&W restaurant, which goes back decades probably, at least in this area of the country and probably beyond, will be opening soon, and they're off Rawling Road. Any update on their progress right now?
Yeah, they've been through the permitting process and plan review, and they're going to be occupying the former Burger King in the Sam's Plaza. And they are scheduled to be opening in spring, so that's something we're all looking forward to, and a little bit of nostalgia for a lot of us who used to go to A&W back in the days.
Do they still hang the tray on the side of the cars? That's still we don't know, probably not. A couple of residential projects we'll discuss now, and these have been going on for some time, and there is a lot of progress happening at the intersection at Army Trail and Mill Roads. First with the Enclave at Mill Creek, and then of course it has its companion, the Towns at Mill Creek.
Right.
So how are things going there sales-wise and potential development coming?
They're going remarkably well. Sales of new buildings in Addison have been really successful, and at the Enclave, phase 1 and 2 have been almost sold out. They're going very, very quickly. And when we first looked at the project, we were thinking somewhere in the $350 range, and the average sale price to date is $487,000. So significantly higher than what was anticipated, and the demand has been really great. And so we're really happy with that project. And
the Towns, that would be the townhome project then, which is kind of the third phase, contemplated as the third phase.
Right. And that will be breaking ground. They've leveled the property. They've done a lot of improvements to the site, and they'll be starting to move soil and put in sidewalks and streets in spring. So a lot of development going on there.
Now, just about a year or so ago, the Highlands, which is at the site of the former Driscoll Catholic High School property, was getting underway, and now we see construction and permitting happening right there with new units going in at that area along Lombard Road.
Phase 1 has been very successful. There are already, I believe, 3 or 4 units occupied. Almost all of phase 1 has been sold, and they have started on phase 2, which would be the final phase of the project. And again, these homes are going in excess of $500,000.
Sure. Which is probably keeping up with the price point, and that also brings that neighborhood to an entire level of standard that I believe the Village Board has been striving for decades, probably.
Well, definitely, and a lot of, when you look at the average price of homes in Addison, they factor in apartment buildings, and when those sell, there's a difference in the average. So what we're seeing now is single family homes coming online, and that's bringing up the average cost of homes in Addison, which is something that we want to see.
Another residential property would be Woodland Estates at the intersection at Rawling Road and Woodland Road. How has that been going there? That's been a townhome project also.
It's slowed down a little bit. The last building is scheduled to break ground in spring again, and the other units in the built project have been sold and occupied. So again, we were looking for options for our seniors. We were looking for options for empty nesters, and a lot of what we've been seeing is new homes for people coming into our community, second homes for people who began to establish themselves in our community, and then ultimately homes where people can downsize and stay in our community.
I know about a year ago at this time we talked about a new development that was being undertaken by Amazon along Lake Street in the I-355 corridor, and that has been completed now, and it's great to have in the community also. Right? Tell us what's been happening out at their property at 2101 West Lake Street.
Okay. That property had been a mix of storage areas, and actually it became pretty much an unincorporated junkyard. And it was an eyesore for the village. We ended up incorporating, and it was assembled into one ownership, and they were able to get in contact with Amazon, and Amazon agreed to lease the property. And so the building is up, and the plans were for them to be operational by this time this year. But because of supply chain issues, a lot of the equipment, a lot of the things that were necessary for the build-out, and some internal changes in their plans caused delays. So we're now looking at probably the third quarter of next year for them to be fully.
Well, and it's great to see not only the incorporation of that property to have more control over it, but also all that underused property that had more potential now has been put into something that you can't beat it, to have a retail giant such as Amazon and have their presence in the community.
Definitely.
Let's just touch for a moment on some maintenance projects, and that would be in the area of the motor fuel tax, street resurfacing projects, and other road projects that happen in the community. And we keep up with that on an annual basis. We could do hours and hours on how important street resurfacing and roadway projects are to the community, because people need to get from one place to another, and you need to have roads to do that. So do we continue to do that on a regular basis, including this year?
Yeah, our goal is that every street is resurfaced or replaced every 20 years. And we generally try to do about 5 miles a year. And this year we're allocating about $1.5 million for the project. And we have done studies where we've prioritized what streets and what areas are the most in need, and that's how we decide then where the projects are going to be. And a lot of the work is funded by our motor fuel tax, so that's something that is not part of our out-of-budget operating budget, but something that comes in through tax revenues
from the state, which is important to get. Here's some things now that have been approved at the village board level, so residents will start to see some action happening. You may have heard of these in the past. First of all is a project called Alexandria Point at 1100 West Lake Street. Many residents will remember that as the many years ago former Oxford Bank property.
Right. That project has been on and off now for several years. It was moving very quickly as a senior center with everything from independent care to assisted living to memory care, Alzheimer's unit. The project was stopped because of the untimely death of the developer. They reorganized, refinanced. They came in with new plans, and recently we reviewed the latest plans, and we anticipate that they will be breaking ground and starting construction most likely in second quarter of next year.
Very good. Something that the board had just very recently been talking about and gave approval to was a project called Addison Horizon, 150 West Green Meadows Drive. So development just north of the long-standing Green Meadow Shopping Center. And what's going to be happening over at that project?
Well, I think a lot of people have heard of Alden Health, and they are very big in the senior living sector of healthcare. And they approached us with plans for that property. And the trustees and I looked at the properties that they have in Woodridge. Mm-hmm. And they have a beautiful setup there. And we toured the facility, and we're very impressed with what we saw. And we sat down with them. They put together plans which have been approved now. And so we are anticipating that they'll be breaking ground and putting up I believe it's a 62-unit senior center on the property right behind Jewel.
This has been a long-standing goal for as long as I can remember of the Village Board, is to have senior housing of various degree and various mm-hmm. levels, so people who had homes in the community, single-family homes, for example, and would like to downsize but remain in Addison, had the option to do mm-hmm. so. I think we've talked at least about a couple right now, yes. plus the Clarendale project, which has been here for several mm-hmm. years. So it sounds like you've really been able to hit that goal in the last few years.
Well, and again, that was something that we were really deficit in. What we saw were when people got to a senior age or wanted to downsize, they would leave Addison and move out west. And what we've also seen is that we have multiple generations of families that live in Addison. So having the opportunity and the facilities for them to stay in our community was very important to us. So that was the goal, and we're seeing that actually take place now.
Now there's a project on the boards right now for something called Quick Trip. It's at 415 North Swift Road, and that is again along the I-355 corridor, and in a very desirable piece of property, I understand, for many, many years. And I guess a plan has now been finalized that it'll be able to go forward.
Right. It's the property that's adjacent to the Medina Shriners property, and it has high visibility. And what we wanted was a development where we could see maybe an additional hotel, another restaurant, and Quick Trip is a gas station, quick service facility that we sat down and talked about the possibility of a planned unit development, which would include their facility plus future plans for hotel and restaurant facility. And we were very impressed with what they put on the table and what the plans look like, so they will be moving forward very shortly on that project.
Of course, we have many completed projects. I know you're really happy about this because you never really know until the ribbon gets cut, right?
Exactly.
Then you know the project's been completed. We've talked about these on our monthly visits many, many times over the last several years, and we'll kick it off with Brunch Cafe at 140 West Lake Street. They finally opened.
Yeah, again, several names and several ideations of what they were going to be, but the bottom line is they finally opened, and they've been going gangbusters. There's usually lines out in front. Great service,
very good food,
and very great, good food, and we're very happy for them and happy that they're open, and another amenity for our community.
Right. We said goodbye to a long-standing business in Addison, which was the Alta Villa Banquet Hall, and now it has become the new Apostolic Church, 430 North Addison Road, and I understand you've actually been there and you've seen the inside of the facility.
The village manager and I toured about 3-4 weeks ago, actually, and very, very impressive. They put in several $1 million in renovation of the building, and was very, very pleased to see what they've done, and they want to become a very active part of the community. Part of the building is reserved for future retail, as well as meeting space, and so they did a very, very nice job, and we're excited to have them as part of our community.
Very good. We saw a turnover in kind of an underused property, and it was a 7-Eleven store, convenience store, and a gas facility at 1740 West Army Trail Road. There was a ribbon cutting celebration held there. Everybody had their coffee, and it was all a great morning was had by all.
It was, and quite frankly, the former location was very worn and tired, and it needed some upgrading, and this really changed the appearance, and what they can provide with the 7-Eleven has been very, very positive, and I know our chief of police is thrilled that there's another coffee shop in town. So.
Casey's has is a new name now of the former Buc-ee's gas station and convenience center along Lake Street and the Raleigh Road corridor. So now there's a new name, but same facility still operates there.
Right. We were a little surprised to hear that Buc-ee's was selling to Casey's, and I personally had never heard of Casey's. And our village manager said, "Oh yeah, they're in rural communities and they're really big and they've got great food and their pizza is tremendous." And I said, "Their pizza is tremendous?" He goes, "Oh yeah, it's really great. You got to try it." And I said, "Joe, with all of the great pizza we have in our community, I'm going to go to a gas station."
We used to have an award-winning, a contest every year for that.
Exactly. And he said, "I'll bring in a taco pizza for you."
Oh, well.
And he did that, and I almost got a piece because everybody in the office, but it's very, very good. And what I understand is that in most of the locations in the more rural, that's the place to go for dining. So
for pizza,
they kept the tradition going, and so we're very happy that they've joined our community.
So remember the name, folks. It's Casey's, the former Buc-ee's along Lake Street.
If you want a taco pizza, yeah.
Right, and Raleigh Road. Physicians Immediate Care, 1690 West Lake Street. There had been an office building there for many, many years, and now it's turned over and is offering another opportunity for healthcare services in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the old Alpha Realty building, and Amita Health, some of their physicians opened up the sites, and so Amita is closing down the urgent care across the street, and so this is kind of the alternative for that, but it's a group of independent physicians that are on staff with the Amita facilities.
Immediate care does not dictate the 24-hour facility, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's
correct.
just kind of an urgent care thing,
right.
but not immediate care. Altorfer Cat, 301 South Mitchell Court. We talked about that a year ago. This was a big win for Addison, relocated from a neighboring community.
And I would never mention Elmhurst, but yeah, we were very, very happy. They moved their corporate headquarters to Addison. They went into a building that hadn't been used for a lot of years and rehabbed that building, put a lot of money into the rehab. As I said, they moved their corporate headquarters, and their generator program is now being managed out of Addison, so sales tax comes to Addison from
Huge
that.
revenue stream.
So this was a real big win for us, and we're very happy to have them as members of our community.
Very good. Now, a couple of potential development projects, so not a lot of detail on these, but things to kind of keep an eye out for. First of all, what was been called the Green property, the southwest corner of Lake Street and Addison Road, which was a private residence for decades, has sold, but Addison is doing something unique with that project and the purchaser of that property.
Mm-hmm. A lot of talk has been about corporate-private partnerships with municipal government, and this, I think, is a good example of it. St. Paul had property, a significant amount of property that they were looking to sell. The village owned some property, or still owns some property, adjacent to the church's property, and the Green property forms a very large parcel that's a desirable area for redevelopment. We were approached by a land developer that said they had potentially a light industrial use that could be developed there. And so in conversation with all the parties involved, the Green property sold, and we are now in the process of finalizing an agreement where we're swapping the parcel that the village owns with the corner parcel of the Green property. So that will allow us to extend the Village Green all the way to Addison Road. The church will then be able to sell the property, and we'll be seeing about 186,000 square foot building going up that will be primarily warehousing and light industry. That will be farther south on Addison Road. So it becomes a win-win. The vacant property will be utilized for the benefit of our industrial and commercial area. We will be able to expand our Village Green, and the church is able to sell property that they were looking to sell for quite a while.
Now, the Green property and the Green family, which have been longstanding members of our community in primarily the industrial area and also within civic matters itself, that was unique in that you had a private residence right in the middle of what we had at one time referred to as our town center.
Correct.
Or downtown area. So that didn't really fit in with the ultimate goals going back to even your predecessor's administration to try and make this a town center. Does this now give you a little bit more of a key into the door to anchor Addison at that Lake Street and Addison Road area with, as you say, the expansion of the Village Green as a proposal?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that we've talked about and I really want to see happen is we have our Veterans Memorial across the street in front of Walgreens. Yes. I would like to see that moved over to an expanded Village Green where we really have a campus where we can do multiple things in terms of Memorial Day. A lot of the events that we have can be expanded, and that becomes a real anchor for continued growth on the eastern side of Addison Road. We've got the repair shop, lube shop over there, and some other things that I would anticipate we'll see some changes in growth and development with the expansion that we're contemplating.
Very good. We'll close out our discussion with community development by just touching for a moment on our code enforcement program, and particularly the industrial inspection program also. These are very important because we need to keep our business community regulatory standards up to par within Addison so things don't fall into disrepair, and you do that by having a rigorous well-established inspection program both for code enforcement and in our industrial sector as well. And it has really stood a lot of challenges over the many years and helps protect the community overall.
It does, and Addison has the fourth largest industrial park in the state of Illinois, and that's something that we should be proud of, but we also should be protective of. And what we've seen in recent years is a lot of our neighboring communities have realized that having a strong manufacturing and industrial sector kind of protects them from what we saw with COVID in terms of retail taking a hit, but other elements in the economy maintaining and helping the village survive. So we did very well economically so far through the pandemic, and we want to protect and make sure that as our buildings age, especially on the east side of town, you can see a progression. In the 50s, there was a focus on industrial, and as that grew farther and farther west in our community, we have newer buildings and more contemporary manufacturing facilities. So what we're looking at now is making sure that on the older section of our industrial park, we maintain standards and work with the owners and the businesses to upgrade their buildings and their infrastructure so that they stay contemporary and can maintain a viable place in the economy. So a lot of it is maintaining and improving the conditions of aging areas of our industrial area.
Mayor Veenstra, let's turn our attention now to the Public Works Department. Millions of dollars every year the Village Board allocates in operations for Public Works because they keep the roads clear, they keep the streets plowed during the winter. They also protect our homes from water when we don't want the water in that area. But they are also aggressively working on infrastructure improvements every year. It's an ongoing process in Public Works, and I know this is a priority at the Village Board. It has been for decades. They even have that big $7 million project going on still to this day over at the North Treatment Plant.
Right.
But all this work is very critical for the community.
It is, and those are things that department really is overlooked by the community, and things that we expect to happen, whether it's flushing the toilet, whether it's turning on and watching water come out of the spigot. These are things that are critical to the success and health and well-being of our community, and our Public Works Department has done a tremendous job in maintaining all those. But things age, and we are not a new community, so you start looking at things that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, whether you're looking at sewers, or whether you're looking at the treatment plant, which with the digester and all of the mechanisms that go into treating wastewater, critical to our community and very essential. So we're undergoing a repair, upgrade, and change out of the North Treatment Plant, and very expensive process, and that's going over a couple of years in terms of project.
Also, Public Works over the last couple of years, well, they're always working on water main replacement. A big project took place along Addison Road this year, a huge water main replacement in that area, because that has to happen on a regular basis, as you've mentioned. The water meter replacement project still goes on, and even the bridge at the Westwood Creek area north of the Green Meadows area was replaced recently, and traffic, of course, had to be diverted a little bit as a result of that. So all those projects continue to be improvements in the community. Definitely,
and like I said, it's an aging community, and a lot of this work is essential to maintain our status and convenience for our residents, but improving water supply, one of the big projects that will be coming up across the country, but in almost every community in Illinois, is lead pipe replacement, and there'll be more coming out on that, and we're looking at federal grants and state grants, and a lot of opportunities to complete that project, but a lot of things that are required to maintain are actually happening in the next couple of years, and so it's important that we work together and prioritize what really is necessary.
Sure. In fact, here on ACTV, we'll be starting a video series that will be broadcast at regular times called How It Works. And our first department to feature is the water department, quite interestingly, to see how, as the mayor just talked about, water coming out of the tap and so on, how this works, because you as residents pay for that service, and you should know how it works. So the Public Works Water Department will be our first feature on our series called How It Works, and that'll be coming in the next few months here, starting pretty soon, actually, right here on ACTV. So I'm glad to have that. We had to relocate because of the project at the North Treatment Plant. Recycling services needed to be, were impacted, I should say. So we had a couple of special events, thanks to the cooperation of Addison Trail High School and a number of our very kind and gracious vendors and sponsors that we work with in the community.
Yeah, Republic has been very good with working with us and providing that. Recycling is critical, and something that people had just taken for granted because we had the site next to the treatment plant, and we were looking at ways of augmenting and supplementing because of the closure, and having these pop-up sites at the high school were very, very successful, and we were looking at possibly doing that on a routine basis now. And so people have been able to take all of the recyclables and drop them off, and multiple vendors and support systems that are in place to process and help people get rid of things that have been laying around. And
like big TVs.
Big TVs.
Huge TVs.
You know, it's amazing what we saw being brought in.
And 8-track players, if you remember those.
I still have them.
Yeah, and there'll be another one. Actually, there will be another recycling event coming up in April.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I think this is an option that we're very happy to see successful, and we're, I think, going to continue doing it.
Very good. Well, let's turn our attention to the finance department now. A lot of things happened. First of all, our normal operations for the finance department came back into the Village Hall in the Rotunda, but they also instituted a number of new things. An online payment portal, make it easy for residents to make their various payments online, which people are used to doing anyway at this point.
Well, you know, we've been upgrading all of our computer systems and software programs over the last couple of years, and I think with the pandemic and all of the things that we've seen in terms of social distancing, providing opportunities where you don't have to physically come and be in a crowded area, This helps out significantly in that regard, as well as improves the efficiency of the process. So this is something that I think is going to be a huge improvement, both in terms of processing, but also just for the physical and environmental issues.
Well, you mentioned the pandemic. It should be noted that during the time when we were really at the height of that, the village board had a policy in place that we were giving some relief as far as water shutoffs were concerned. And that was really important for residents to know that that was available to them.
Well, definitely. I mean, we realized that there were a lot of hardships in terms of closures. People were out of work. People were forced to stay home for various reasons. And so, I mean, we have to work with our community and do what's right for them. And that was just one way that we could work to maybe minimize some of the pain that people were feeling.
Sure. Let's move along now to our police department, which provides vital services to the community, of course. And one of the more interesting events that is really community engaging, which the police department works with other agencies and organizations on, is something called Shop with a Hero. Mm-hmm. It just happened recently on December 4th. And I know you've taken a great interest in that and really have supported it and gotten behind that. Tell us what Shop with a Hero is about, and why is it important for law enforcement in this case to get involved in a project like that?
Well, initially it was Shop with a Cop was the original program, and Fire District became involved, and so the name changed to Shop with a Hero, and it's a joint venture with the Fire District and our police departments. Essentially, they volunteering their own time, their own money to provide gifts for the children that are in need in our community. And they do this in concert with Walmart. Walmart provides a generous grant for the program, and the schools provide names of families that are in need, and they pair them up with our first responders. And it's an opportunity for us to really see what policing, what firefighters are, and kind of minimizes what we see on TV and the news at night. You see the worst side of what policing can be. You see the negative news that comes out, but then when you see what really happens in the community and how they dedicate themselves to be part of the community and helping the community, it's really gratifying. And they do a tremendous job. And what we've seen is the Knights of Columbus. We've seen several of our businesses come out and also supply donations. All of the kids that participate get coats from the Knights of Columbus. So it really is heartwarming to see community coming together and our first responders really doing what they do best, and that's helping our community.
The connection, as you just said, between the public agencies, public safety agencies, police, fire, especially in this case, and the residents of the community, especially in times of need, is so critical and is so important. It is all that really can be done to get out there and engage with the community, as you just mentioned. So something like Shop with a Hero, when that's talked about, those are your public servants getting behind that. The people who work for this community, along with businesses, civic organizations. Yeah. You mentioned the Knights of Columbus, very actively involved. So an event like that is important and really does bear witness to the fact that we have a community that really does care and wraps its arm around each other when it's needed most.
Well, and again, just not to be repetitive, but our police do a tremendous job, and they do it the right way. And a lot of people just tend to group and point fingers at, oh, the cops are bad. Well, the cops aren't bad. I mean, they do a tremendous job, and this is what policing should be. And just very, very proud of them.
Well, we celebrated in 2021 with the return of Addison's Big Party, which happens every Thursday night during the summer, an abbreviated season for the 10th season of Rockin' Wheels. Why did Rockin' Wheels return? Why was it so important, Mayor Veenstra, to have our weekly summer event come back to Addison?
Because we needed it. It's really the bottom line. No, there needs truly to be a rallying point for a community. And with all the negativity that we've had over the last 2 years with COVID and everything else, having a place to celebrate, to come together, to realize what our community is about was critical. And it really promoted Addison. Other communities, when they think of organizational activities and things to do, Addison is always high on the list of, wow, Thursday nights in Addison, they do great things.
They do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they copy what we're doing, and it's become something that has put us on the map in terms of DuPage County, but it's also, more importantly, I think, something that we as residents can be proud of, and it's an opportunity to get together and celebrate.
Very much so, and to see the crowds come out. There were evenings I went out there, and I know I mentioned this to you in the past, our staff and others have commented, sometimes you walk out there and you're just overwhelmed by the amount of people who come out to do that, and they really did want that this year. They really worked hard to get to that point, and they had that this year.
And you know what I find so refreshing is that it's a very positive attitude. Knock on wood, there's never been any kind of issues, and people truly like being there. And I know I hear the comments, wow, when's it going to start, or when's it coming back, because they miss it when we get into our fall and winter season. So it's been something that we could really be proud of, and your department has been the lead on that, and it's grown to become a true community effort.
Right. Other events and other parties which happened this year, we brought back the Addison Medina Shriners Parade in late August. An abbreviated parade in that we were beset with a pretty nasty storm, a thunderstorm that happened in the afternoon. But despite that, we got through it. The after party took place on the Village Green, and folks stayed around. We were grateful for that. And all the organizations that are involved in that parade, which helps us celebrate our community. And our Harvest Fest event, which took place in September as well. And then the return of the Mayor's Community Charity Ball. It made it to the 30th event. And how was the turnout for that and the proceeds? Because you were able to distribute those checks during December.
Right. You know, we were so thrilled to be able to bring it back after the hiatus because of the COVID. We normally would have about 400 to 425 in attendance. Because of staffing problems with the banquet hall, we were limited to 300. We had a waiting list, so we did have 300 people at the ball. We were able to generate $48,000 in revenue that went to the charities that were represented at the ball. And everybody had a tremendous time. Comments after were fantastic, and people who had been there for the first time are wanting to get more involved, and so it's something again that we're very, very proud of. We had several mayors from other communities in attendance. One of them told me that, and I'll share, Burr Ridge was very, very impressed, and they want to replicate what we're doing here in Addison. So it's a source of pride, but it also, again, speaks to who we are as a community, coming together to help those in need and doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. And then speaking of celebrating, we took our holiday celebrations very seriously this year in December by bringing back the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which was open to the public and outdoors this year. Along with the various events that we held over the first 2 weekends of December. And you brought back the Christmas parade once again, where you, the village board, Santa Claus himself, toured the community of Addison in a kind of an evening light parade through the community. Must be a lot of fun to do stuff like that.
Well, you know, we did it last year because of the changes that were necessary because of the pandemic. It was so positively received. We wanted to do it again this year. And I think it's going to become a permanent fixture because the feedback has been tremendous. I know we have a tracking system,
the Santa Tracker.
Santa Tracker, and my understanding is there were like 5,000 hits on it. So people were watching, people were at corners waving. And
your front yard, I heard.
My front yard, yeah. Not sure who they were,
Right.
but yeah.
That was a good spot.
Yeah.
You knew the Santa parade was going by the mayor's house for sure.
Wait a minute, that's not my family there. Yeah. But, it was great fun. And like I said, the kids waving and screaming at Santa Claus were really fun to watch. And so, again, the idea is bringing the community together to celebrate and to be proud of who we are and what we do here in our community.
Right. One item that we do want to touch on, because it's right now on the board's agenda in the area of community relations, not just parties and celebrations, is that we're going to be undertaking a major technological upgrade to the Village Board meeting room here at Village Hall. Much of the technology is some 20 years old,
Yep.
and that's not good for technology. So there's a lot of upgrades, and in fact, the board's discussing it at this time as we speak. So again, keeping up with our in this case, technology here at the Village Hall.
No, as you said, the Village Hall is 20 years old, and the technology is 20 years old. So a lot of changes and improvements, the way we were doing things. We're looking forward to some significant upgrades in the next several months. So more to come on that.
Well, this year, the Village of Addison's new history book, not new history book, but second edition of the history of Addison, called Addison, The Vision Continues, which was published in 2019, received 2 state awards during 2021. This book covers Addison's history from 1985 until the year 2019. On February 4th, the book received an honor of the Award of Merit for printed materials from the Illinois Association of Museums. And then on April 23rd, the book received a certification of excellence for the Best of Illinois Awards program from the Illinois State Historical Society. We're very proud of the 2 state awards that the book Addison, The Vision Continue received here in our community. The book, along with its companion edition, Addison Village of Friendship, is on sale for purchase at the village offices and at the Addison Historical Museum. And here's Susan English to tell us more.
The Village of Addison is pleased to announce the publication of 2 volumes chronicling Addison history. Addison Village of Friendship is a reprint edition of the long out-of-print comprehensive history of Addison from its founding through its centennial anniversary year of 1984. New to this expanded 232-page edition is an epilogue chapter titled The Centennial Year 1984 and a completely updated index. The second volume, Addison, The Vision Continues, examines the critical growth and development of Addison beginning in 1985 and continuing through 2019, under the stewardship of 3 local leaders, Anthony Rusato, Lorenz Hartwig, and Richard Veenstra. This 128-page new edition is richly illustrated with over 175 images, which are reproduced in the 4-color printing process. The volume also includes 2 additional appendices detailing village leadership and history. Both editions are limited, high-quality, hardbound editions with full indexes. The volumes are available for purchase separately or as a set. Addison Village of Friendship Reprint Edition retails for $39.95 plus tax. Addison The Vision Continues sells for $34.95 plus tax. Buy both volumes and save. The 2-volume set retails for $69.95 plus tax. Books are available for purchase at the Addison Historical Museum, the Village of Addison Finance Counter in the Police Department lobby, and by mail order. We accept cash, check, or money order only. Mail orders will be shipped out for an additional $10 per volume and $20 per set shipping and handling fee. For mail order forms and pricing of multiple copies, please contact the Addison Historical Museum at 630-628-1433 or email us at museum@addison-il.org. Don't miss out on your chance to own a bit of Addison history today. The books also make great gifts. Reserve yours today.
Well, of course, Mayor Veenstra, we've covered so many topics, as we always do during this holiday program in the time that we've had to visit today. And if you have questions about some of the issues that have been discussed during our Year in Review program, and things that not just with the Village of Addison, but many of the other agencies that serve us here in the community, we invite you to participate, tune in, watch, hopefully attend the 15th annual Shape of Addison Town Hall meeting presented by Itasca Bank and Trust Company. This year's town meeting will take place on Wednesday, January 26th at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now, subject to any safety or health protocols, the meeting will be open to the public this year, and that'll take place in the Village Board meeting room here at Village Hall at 1 Friendship Plaza. You can also watch the program, as we have presented for all of these years, here on Addison Community Television on January 26th. It also streams live on the Village of Addison's website, which is addisonadvantage.org. And you can also watch the program as it streams live on the Village's YouTube channel, which is Village Addison. Now, this is important because in addition to watching the program and hearing the presentations from the 6 board presidents or their designees representing them that evening of the agencies that represent you, from schools, park district, library, village, fire protection district, and so on, you'll have the opportunity to then submit a question either by phone or by email. So we invite you to watch the program, if not attend it live in person at Village Hall. The Shape of Addison Town Hall meeting presented by Itasca Bank and Trust Company, coming your way on Wednesday, January 26th, beginning at 7 o'clock in the evening. And we hope that our residents and viewers will participate as they have done for many years.
And ask all of the agencies questions, not just the mayor.
There are 6 elected officials there, or actually there will be 5 this year, that you can ask your questions of. We certainly encourage you to ask questions of all of them, as you just said so eloquently. Well, Mayor Veenstra, with that, we are ready to put the wraps on 2021. A busy year always. I can tell that you have a great sense of pride of all these various projects that we've talked about, and many that we probably really didn't spend too much time on in our visit today. But I know that you, your fellow elected officials, village administration are all very proud of the work that's taken place. I would offer this time now to you to give a greeting of the season on behalf of the Village of Addison to our community.
Well, on behalf of the trustees and myself and our village clerk, I just want to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and best of everything in the coming year. It's been a trying year. It's been a successful year in many ways, and we look forward to an even better year in 2022. So thank you very much.
Mayor Veenstra, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your family.
Thanks, Dan.
Now, for all of us here at Addison Community Television, I'm Don Weiss, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you again in 2022.